Here's 5 of my best top tips for you to manage your time better with your business and brand. What's going on, everybody? Spencer Lyon here. For those that don't know, in 2012 I started an online vintage and streetwear brand called Gully Garms. Last year I sadly had to close it due to all of life's things that it threw at me, and I wanted to come here in 2024 giving value on what I've learned over the 12 years of being in this industry. And today I wanted to actually home in on a skill or a side of it that I think is actually on a lot of people's tongues. And that's the production time and how we actually make this a speedier and a more cohesive process. When you start to be a reseller or you start to get into your own business journey, you don't realize how many different tasks you're gonna have to learn along the way. I never thought that I would be listing products, taking things to the post office, managing labels and tracking and all these sorts of things that may seem like simple tasks, but when you have lots of other things going on at the same time, it makes it very chaotic. Now, I wanted to bring this video so that I could give you 5 of my top tips for managing your production time better, and hopefully one of these 5 might work for you. Top tip number 1, the time of motion. Before you understand whether your time is being used wisely or not, you have to do a time of motion for every single individual task. What does that actually mean? If you're a reseller, you're steaming, measuring, uploading products, sourcing them. Each task, create an hour aside to monitor what you do with that task in an hour. I know some of you might say, Spencer, I'm doing a lot of tasks at the same time, but I'm gonna need you to focus on one task at one time just to get this time of motion into place. Essentially, what this task allows us to do is understand where our time on an average is per hour for each task. You may have to record more than 1 hour of each task. So for example, if you're measuring, it might be good to do a time of motion of 1 hour every week for a month and see what the average is of those 4. Maybe you've got enough time to monitor the steaming for a whole day and what you did on average like that. The more data you can essentially get of a set task and what you've done with it, the better you'll be able to understand what that average is. Now, why that allows us to have a bit of a better production time is that you understand where you sit with all the tasks, and you can look at yourself within genuinely and go, is that my actual average? Do I measure 30 items an hour? Am I taking photos of 20 items an hour? What is my average time per task? Understanding this time of motion will just allow you to understand where your expertise is with your tasks and where you've got weak spots. Point number 2, work on your weak aspects and learn to leverage from them. No staff equals all tasks. So if you are doing all of the tasks due to no staff, you need to understand where your weak point is. Maybe you're really, really good at taking photos, you understand the metric of that system, but when it comes around to steaming and measuring, you lose patience, you lose the ability to even do it cohesively. Understanding where your actual weak points are allows you to understand where the cracks are in your foundation. In order to create a strong foundation, you need to know where the cracks are so that when it builds up and it goes past that point and you're scaling, you need to know where the weak points are. Homing in on them early allows you to build on them at the right time so that when you scale or when you're in a different capacity, people that you might employ or just working under bigger quantities, you will understand where those weak points were and how you worked on them. So just remember that no staff equals all tasks. Simple little abbreviation for it, but if you're doing all the tasks because of no staff, you need to understand the tasks before you get staff. Tip number 3 for managing your production time is understanding whether there are any free or efficient tools on the market to help you facilitate those tasks. For example, you might not want to edit your photos, and there may be something that automatically batch edits them. You might have an easy product uploader. You might have some sort of system in place through a tool that allows you to simplify the job. And I know in different videos I've made points about AI or not to AI with your business, but in certain respects, especially when it comes down to the production time, I personally cannot falter the use of certain tools to help efficiency. Look into tools for certain areas, break down every single individual task you have to do. Researching, sourcing, washing, authenticating, managing uploads, whatever it might be. Look at all those areas and see if there's a potential tool that would be used to facilitate that. Ideally, obviously, you want a free tool so you don't have to pay out for it, but if you get something that you're paying for, is that working out to help you? For example, if you use cross multiple platform uploaders, you probably have to pay between $30 and $50 a month in order to get everything you need from that. So that's an investment that you need to expect some return from. Task number 4 is the speed of efficiency law. And in my eyes, this is something that I've always focused on, so look at all your tasks that you do. And by this point of the first 3 tasks, you might understand where your strengths and weaknesses are. If there's a task that you're very good at, you have the opportunity to experiment with the speed aspect of it. So tasks that we are the most efficient at allows us to have the most experimental processes with the speed. Because if you try and speed up a task that you're not very good at, you are going to hinder a lot of that quality. Whereas if you're very good at photography and you do it as a trial and test to see if maybe doing 10 items an hour more will impact that, then you're in a position to do that and see if it will actually affect it. But the reality is that the tasks that you have the strongest ability for are normally the ones that you can push that efficiency a little bit more through the speed. So the speed and efficiency law really will help your production time if you are good at tasks and want to even tighten what you're strong at. A long time I always used to say, focus on your strengths and ignore your weaknesses, but it's better to understand what your weaknesses are to know where you can leverage and understand your strengths so you know where to improve the speed. Point number 5, which I believe is obviously the most important one, and that's why I've left it to the end. And this is that you have to allow yourself to learn. What a lot of people will do is they will think that all the tasks are simplified and they can run into them as quick as possible, very impatiently, and like a bull in a china shop, do bits of everything. But the importance of failing and understanding where you went wrong on that and learning from it is the biggest leverage that you can have versus somebody who will just keep trying to do as many tasks as possible without understanding what they're doing. Everybody can do the exact same tasks as you, but what everybody doesn't do, or what everybody fails to do, is learn what they have learned from the tasks that they've done. If you've been uploading products and you make the same mistake, do you remember the mistake and acknowledge it, process that and go, I keep doing this, I keep doing that, and I need to learn from this. Once you understand the leverage and the beauty in learning as much as possible, it really will help just leverage it. The more you can fail, the better under the small scopes that you have the capacity to fail. The reason why that helps is it just allows you to understand exactly what it is that you could be doing better against your competition and in the field that you're working in. Now guys, they are my 5 top tips for managing your production time. Please feel free to drop me a comment down below if you want me to explore and expand on any points, or if you just want to challenge something that I've made as a point. Maybe you want to know if there's free tools. And if you want to learn a little bit more about structuring your brand, creating campaigns and all the rest of it, I actually have a Patreon. The link is down below, and it includes 3 videos a month for £4.50. What this membership will allow you to do is have videos from myself where we break down strategies a bit more. We look into incremental details that might be useful for you and your growth with your business. There's more of a community aspect in there as well, so albeit the YouTube is great and I love to engage with every single comment, within the Patreon you can ask specific questions that I can make particular videos over, and we can try and understand where you need to go with your brand through those creations. So guys, as always, stay safe, stay sustainable, stay original, just keep trusting that process. I'll keep drumming that in for as long as I'm here. We're going that way. We're not going that way, we're going that way. So keep moving in the right direction, trust the process, and keep enjoying it. Big up.